Hi everyone, welcome back to our second, actually our last Meet the Creator interview of 2023. And I'm going to be talking today to the lovely Jamia Wilson, and we're going to be talking about the most beautiful book, which is A Year of Black Joy, which I am stroking as we speak. So welcome, Jamia. It's lovely to see you here. Thank you very much for joining us, because of course you're not in the UK, are you?
Thank you for having me. I am in New York City, and I am in the largest area of protected forest in Manhattan. So I like to say that I'm in a sort of a special part of the city that is off the beaten path, but I love it because you get nature and you also get to be in the city and close to all the delights of the city.
It's fascinating, because I would never have thought the words forest and Manhattan were to go together. Well,
it's full of surprises.
When I'm going to have to look into that. To look into that. We normally start these sessions by asking our authors if they'd mind reading a little bit from the book. Are you quite happy to do that?
I am. I'm very happy to do that. I was thinking maybe what I will do is read to you the Dear Reader, What Brings You Joy, because it gives you the reason for why we did this book and why I worked with Magic Cat and Jade to make this book, and why joy. So it says, Dear Reader, what brings you joy? This is among my favorite questions to ask folks, because it is almost always brings a smile to their face, and in turn my own. One of the biggest joys of my life has been my devotion to books as a reader, editor, and author. That's why I'm delighted to invite you to take this journey with us, to celebrate joy with a selection of 52 global Black visionaries, creators, and change makers who cover topics from astrology to astronomy and beekeeping to baking. We welcome you to revel in the glorious diversity of Black life and tap into their joys through the new discoveries like seasonal recipes, indoor and outdoor crafts and arts, and much more. Joy is limitless and can inspire, connect, heal, and transform individuals, communities, and the world. And Black joy is as diverse as we are, as a diaspora of people with myriad cultures, languages, ideas, and interests. Through these pages, you're invited to lean into your curiosity and let your imagination allow you to embrace the pleasure and beauty of being who you are and doing what lights up your life. Joyfully, Jamia. You're good at what you do.
I have to say, the whole book is joyful. It's a delight to dip into. I've learned so much from it and enjoyed it so much. I have to say, it's a very enjoyable book. So you just told us about the inspiration in it. So how did you decide on the 52 people that you were going to feature?
Thank you. I love that question, because I felt like in some ways we curated who would be in it. And then I think in some ways the people whose joy was needing to be highlighted would come to us, and the curiosity had been throughout the process. And so there were people who I know personally, who I thought, oh, they have to be in this book. They exemplify joy, and I'm going to invite them, like my friend Chef Amanda Yee, who did The Joy of Eating Together. And I met her in such a joyful way that I thought, oh, when I think about joy and the spring equinox and all it brings, which is the section that she's highlighted under in March, I thought, oh, we have to have Amanda because she exemplifies that. And so there are people like her who are people I know and have memories in my mind related to joy because I've eaten her amazing food. I've experienced her ability to curate a lot of people, but also people who represent the diversity of who we are. And Chef Amanda Yee is a Black Norwegian Chinese descended person who identifies as Black, but also has all of these other beautiful intersections to her identity that are also a part of the celebration of the diversity of who we are. So that's one example of one of the people. I've experienced that in her cuisine, but also in friendship and learning other parts of the layers of who she is. Another person who I know is Dave Aloy's Furon, who is also in the book about the joy of choreography and dance. And I know Deva because both of our partners are musicians. And I was introduced to Deva's beautiful work, watching a partnership between her partner's music and her dance, and have been following her career. So those are, a couple of examples of people I know. And then there are other people, like people I've collaborated with who I haven't met yet, but have been inspired by in their art. For example, Jade Orlando, the beautiful illustrator who has delighted us with this art in the book, or James McWhorter, whose linguistics work has been of interest to me because I care a lot about learning languages as a way to build bridges with people from different places. And so although I've never met him, I feel like he's tapped into capturing my imagination in a collaborative way. And I wanted to invite him to play, people that I wanted to invite to play in addition to ones I know. And so there's countless examples of this. Another example is scientist Dr. Raven, the science maven. I have not met her, but I follow her on Twitter and I find her to be such a delight. I watched her do a rap about science and I thought, oh, if I had been a child coming up with these resources, maybe I would have had better marks in science. So all of those different things sort of wove into it. And then also having a strong eye on the diversity of the people reading this book, wanting to make sure there's a representation of UK voices and American voices and not having it be imbalanced either way, working with the team of Magic Cat to think about who's inspiring you, who should be on my radar that I might not know about here, and having those conversations as well.
Well, I have to say, it made me very happy when I saw Lem Sisse there.
Yay.
I was like, I was quite excited about that. One of my own idols, absolutely adore his poetry, absolutely adore it, which was beautiful. What I loved most, I really do think the writing puts across their personalities very well. It puts across the passion that these people feel for the subject they're talking about. And that's no mean feat. I think that's absolutely wonderful because it really does just come across. And what I also enjoyed was all of the practical advice of things that projects you could do on their particular subject, with Tayshan Hayden Smith's one on starting a community garden. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. Was there was that something you felt strongly about, of having that practical and go and do things element in there?
Yes. So when we were talking about the initial concept for this book, it was really about seeing that those fun almanacs that kids have access to, there hasn't yet been precedent of almanacs that necessarily are focused on cultural diversity or from specific groups. And so we've been thinking about the seasons, anniversaries, holidays of celebration, things that we can anchor to as communities to bring people together. And also, since we started this project during a time of separation, during the pandemic, to think about what are things that you can do to connect, even if you have to be apart, or when we can come back together. Thank God we're back together now. That we can do together, and things that we can do collectively if we're in a virtual classroom or if we're in person. So I really thought about that, also with a deep longing of wanting to do things, just wanting to do things again. And so, for example, some of the things are about dreaming. Although I live in a part of New York City that has access to beautiful nature, I feel I love this. I think in the UK it's just normal, but I get to see the occasional fox every few years in our parks here. And I love that as something that's a very rare New York experience. So for me, I thought, oh, I don't get to have a community garden experience as often as some other people might in other communities, but learning about how to do it is something that I can do to tap into that dream. Or another example for me was the joy of beekeeping. I have always wanted to learn how to beekeep, but I'm allergic to bees. So although I can't ever become an overseer of my own bees, being able to learn more about how it works, to learn more about how people who are doing this work can do it, how the bees communicate with each other, all of that sort of scratches the itch of not being able to have that experience for someone who's very curious. And I can imagine a lot of the people reading this book probably feel the same way of being curious about a lot of things. Another example is birding, The Joy of Birds, and David Lindo's chapter for Migratory Bird Day. I see all these birders come up to my neighborhood because of the landscape I mentioned, and I don't know the first thing about it. And so for me, I was thinking, oh, I want to know about this because maybe it's something that I can learn about and be more connected to my community and more connected to the people who come here seeking the special birds of this area. And so I just think that the practical is important because of the loneliness of the time that we started making it, but also the experience of working with these creators around the world, to be able to email them, ask them to be a part of this, invite them to play, as I keep saying, but it feels like that. So much of this is about the fact that our lives are embodied and they are tactical and practical, and wanting to engage it. And then some of it's also just about wishing. So, for example, I read at the children's book fair at my church last week, or the week before last, and I read there every year. And I read the selection on the joy of dogs from Angela Medlin. And I read it because I've been trying to convince my husband to get a dog for a couple of years. And so I used it as my advertising campaign with all the cute little kids to help me at church. So I think there's just, and that brought me joy also, to have them say, get Jamia a dog. So I think
Did
for
it
me,
work, Jamia? Did it work?
he is a strong one, but I think that I think he's closer. He's closer to melting down.
I think all of those ideas are also for children, they're very inspiring and aspirational. You know, it's, you can't do everything all at once, but here's one thing you can do, and you can learn about this bit, and you can do this thing, and that will take you further towards doing the great things that we know you're all capable of. And for me, I found that so inspirational. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. You mentioned, of course, Jade Orlando's illustrations. Oh my goodness, aren't they gorgeous?
So beautiful. I love it. And the rainbow of all, I used to be fascinated by kaleidoscopes as a child, and I never said anything to her about that, but to see that show up here felt like a part of the magic around the book and what it means to come together. That it feels like a rainbow celebration of a kaleidoscope lens and full of color and joy and all of that.
They're just so full of life, aren't they? And brightness, and they're just a thing of beauty in themselves, because it is such a triumph. And it is, Jamia, it really is. What are you, can I ask what you're working on next? Have we got more to come?
Yes. So thank you so much. And I just, it warms my heart that you like the book and that you're enjoying it as much as I do. I tried every single activity in the book. And so I can also say that I can attest to the joy that it brings. I've been telling that to the children in my life, that, you know, you should know that I would never ask you to do something that I wouldn't try myself as a big kid. And that is, it just brings me so much joy to know that people are having the same experience of discovery and curiosity I had in getting these pages from each person and their hearts on the page, and then trying each thing, cooking each recipe, etc. For me, what's next, I'm really excited to share is a book with DK in the UK, DK, and it's titled Make Good Trouble. And I'm really excited about it because the book was inspired by John Lewis, who is an amazing, amazing inspiration to me as someone who started out as a youth activist and then grew up to become a congressperson, changing the world, changing the reality of my life, the work he did in the civil rights movement. And Make Good Trouble is about discovering movements that sparked change around the world. And it's through the lens of, for middle grade readers, young people being at the center of those movements, because when we talk about history, we don't often talk about how many times young people have been at the center of being a driving force for change. So that book I'm very excited about. I am lovingly finishing it up right now with real stories about pivotal moments, about how each of us can make a difference. And it starts very on your side of the pond, actually. It starts many years ago when I'm tracing back to the Industrial Revolution and tracing back to the experiences of strikes and labor rights and children in England and the US realizing that they should have rights, and brings us to current movements and climate movements with young people now. And so I'm very excited about this. It's been a really ambitious endeavor for me too, because I like to try new things. That brings me joy because it's a new readership for me, the middle grade reader. So I'm also just very excited for that.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. But to finish on something a little bit frivolous, as we are in December. So which book would you like to find underneath the Christmas tree for yourself this year?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you so much. Which book would I like to find underneath the Christmas tree this year? Ooh, what I would like to find would be, and I think it's partly influenced by working at Random House, where I work now, would be a first edition set of Anne of Green Gables books, because those books instantly bring me back to my first discovery of those books as a child. The spirit of Anne and her sassiness and rambunctiousness and curiosity and all of that reminds me of a certain element of my own spirit as a child. And I think that would be the best present, to have beautiful first edition hard copies. I like the old books. Old Anne of Green Gable books under that tree would be absolutely joyful.
That is an amazing answer. And there'll be so many people going, oh, yes, I want that now. Well, I have to say, I feel like this book has already given me a present this year. And to just give you a little clue how much I liked it, I get sent lots of books and I tend to donate them to schools afterwards. Well, I'm really sorry, schools, but you're not getting this one because I'm keeping it for myself, because I do want to work through and try the recipes and do the other things in it, because it's such an active book. It just inspires you to want to do things, and it is a thing of beauty. So thank you so much for making the time to come and talk to us about it. I will be eagerly looking forward to the next book, and I will definitely want to read it. And I suppose, happy Christmas.
Thank you so much, and happy Christmas to you too. I love how you all say happy Christmas. I was just thinking about that this weekend, that it's the most beautiful thing. It's so much better than Merry Christmas. So I will say happy Christmas to you too.
I tend to say happy Christmas.
I love happy Christmas. I just saw it on a beautiful show that I love, the Buccaneers show. And they were in England, a bunch of US socialites, and they were saying happy Christmas back. And I said, well, it sounds so much better. Happy Christmas. So I'm going to start saying that to everyone.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.